Good afternoon, everyone. This is Miguel Rivas with R&R Athletics Sports Podcast. Today, we have special guest EJ Hernandez from Hastings College. Um, we're going to go over some things today regarding the recruiting, high school recruiting, NIL deals, things of that nature, and even the transfer portal. With that being said, go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone, EJ.
Oh, I'm EJ Hernandez. I grew up in Douglas, Arizona. I played sports in Bisbee High School, and then I got a chance to play college football, and I committed to Hastings College in Nebraska.
Okay, great. So the first question we're gonna go over is, what was high school recruiting like for you, being from a small 2A school in Bisbee, Arizona?
Being from a small school, it kind of differs depending on how big of a recruiter you can get. Like you helped me a lot in that process, and the coaching I had, he had a couple connections, but not as near enough as you did. So it is a little difficult to get your name out there, especially from a small school. So it's possible. Anything's possible as long as you put your mind to it and you have the help. And I was grateful enough to have you help me in that situation to get me what I could get. So it helped me out a lot with you.
Okay. And what is one thing you learned the most regarding recruiting during high school?
The one thing I learned the most,
Yeah.
well, like I said, anything's possible. I learned that with enough hard work and dedication, you can get yourself anywhere you want to go. It's not as simple as people think. Just send out a tape, send out a couple emails, and they'll see if they like you or not. You got to go through a whole process. So I learned that it takes a lot of hard work, especially going like I gotta send this coach a DM, and then I gotta what is it called? I gotta apply to the school.
Apply to the
Yeah,
school,
you
fill out
gotta
the
apply to the
recruiting
school,
questionnaire.
start the recruiting process, and then they send you a link to evaluate yourself, and then they'll text your coach. It's a whole process that I learned that if anybody ever needed help with, I could be able to teach them and help them with. So I just learned about the whole process and how much it actually takes, the time and the effort. That's
Yeah.
that's my
So
biggest takeaway.
a lot of people think, oh, I can just email my film and the coach is gonna see it,
Hmm.
and a lot of times that's not the case. And a lot of times it's you got to do a lot more work, and that's why I keep telling even some of the kids now. I'm working with some of those kids down from Douglas, like you said. I won't say no name, but most of them work pretty well with me, but one of them just don't really respond at all, and it
Yeah.
makes it a lot harder when the individual is not really responding and stuff like that. But you were great. I think you ended up with what, like 15, 16
So
different offers.
13, 15, I believe, was around
13,
that
15,
number. And there was
somewhere
a
in
lot
that
of
range.
times where, like late night, I had to still send out emails and DMs, and I was up for a few hours trying to do everything and applying to schools. But it was worth it at the end of the day to have that many opportunities. It was
Yeah,
worth it.
yeah, and it always is, man.
Hmm.
The third one I would let's say is, how did working with R&R Athletics help you in recruiting? Um, I know I reached out to you, and at the time I think you only had one JUCO offer, or maybe not even anything at the time that I started working with you.
So like when I started looking at how to get recruited and stuff, I think I would email, so I would send some coaches some DMs, but other than that, I didn't know what to do. And then while you were coaching my little brother, and then we found out that you with your recruiting service. So when we asked you to help me, that just jumped like my mindset to whole this can actually happen. So when I joined R&R Athletics, it was a big jump for me because eventually, as soon as I joined you, Hastings College was my first offer, and then more like Culver, Stockton, Ottawa, Morning, and just it was a big it was a big jump for me. Just thinking I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think I was going to play college football anywhere until I joined your recruiting process. So it was a big help for me, and I'll always thank you for it. And if any kids have any questions, from me or from you, like you're legit, and you'll help out anybody who's willing to put in that little extra effort to get
Yes, sir.
recruited.
That's all about for me. Everybody that really knows me, knows that 90% everything I do is for the kids. The rest of it's for my personal self. But 90 to 10, I try to be real with everybody and tell everybody
Hmm.
100% how things are, and that's just who I am and what I love to do. Um, what advice do you have to give younger guys when they are choosing schools? So basically, like you just mentioned your little brother. I used to coach your little brother. He's a phenomenal athlete. Fabian's gonna be, he might even get those D2, D1 offers if he works hard enough. But in his case, he's got a bigger brother that can help him, whereas you didn't have that bigger brother that was in the sports that was helping you. So if you're talking to your brother or just talking to any other high school athlete, what advice would you give them as far as helping them get to a higher level, not just football wise, but working out,
Mhm.
recruiting wise, but also like working out, like what type of workouts should they be working out outside of football practices and things like that nature?
Well, like some advice I'd give, it's just yeah, the classroom is really important. You need that to get to the higher levels, even JUCO. Like you just need that GPA up. And when it comes to field work and stuff, footwork drills, fast feet, hand drills. But it also depends mainly on your position. You want to get out there and do the drills that's going to help you in your position. Mostly, like for me, I'm playing nose guard, so a lot of working the shoot, working the sled helps me out. And weight room, you just got to get strong. There's no question about it. It's all about, yeah, sometimes you got to get up early, but it's all about consistency. It doesn't matter how tired you might be in the morning, how tired you're going to be throughout the day. It's just consistency. As long as you show up and put in that 100% effort that you have to give every day, you're going to be successful. And I always try to tell like my little brother Fabian, I know you're tired, I know your body hurts, but that little extra effort you put in every single day is going to make you that much better than the next player next to you trying to get better than you. So it takes a lot of work, and the main thing about it all is mental. It's a big mental game. You got to really beat. You have to not necessarily beat other people mentally. You got to be able to beat yourself mentally. Say, well, I did this. What can I do to mentally make myself stronger? And what's going to make myself better upcoming for the next game, for the next workout session, for the next field work? And also get coaches that can help you. I was grateful enough to, like during the summers, the coaches at Bisbee High School still allow me to go to the field while they're practicing and use the equipment. And so you just gotta anything you can do here and there, and even the little things like you want to wake up and do a little run in the morning. That's just gonna put you even higher. It's just all a mental game. You gotta show up and you gotta be committed to what you're doing.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I try to push. I have a son that's the same age as your little brother, and they play with each other for a long
Hmm.
time, and I try to push him that same way, and he's, oh, Dad, I'm tired. Right now I'm
Hmm.
literally sitting in a car because he's at 7-on-7 practice right now.
Yep.
And I'm doing this podcast with you, sitting in the car here, but um, a lot of AZ kids go to other states and play and end up coming back home. Most being homesick or not being able to adjust to the location due to it's being too cold or something like that. I think last year there was something about 24 to 30 athletes that went off to D1, D2, not D1, but D2, D3 NAIA schools. And a lot of those kids, they came back home because they wasn't able to adjust to the cold weather or the new location they're living at. Can you tell us a little bit about how you was able to adjust to Hastings College?
Well, the big thing for me that helped me the most out of anything was the family aspect of the team. The coaches want to make sure that we're just not football players, we're a family. We got each other's backs. And with the weather, I mean, I know I'm from Arizona, but I've always liked cold weather. It was something to get used to with snow. That was something I had to get used to. But for me, it wasn't a really hard adjustment for the weather. The hard adjustment for me was not being home when I wanted to be home. Like I can't drive 18 hours every other weekend to go home. And the big thing that helped me the most was finding friends. Like me, I have a good friend group over there. So mostly football players. I talked to some people who are on the baseball team and stuff, but mostly football players. And right now, I live in an apartment with three of my really good friends, and then I got the other guys. They come over too. And when things get hard, you always got someone to talk to at Hastings. There's always teammates, coaches. You need to set up a meeting. You set up a meeting, or if you just want to walk in and say, "Coach, I need to talk," they won't shut you down. And the coaches, when we first get there, really explain to us, we're not making you better football players here, even though that's part of it. We're trying to make you better men, better grown adults, better teammates, better. So it just teaches you a lot, and finding the finding the friends to help you get through that, and then the support system you have back home. Like here, if I ever got sad, and I did, I would call my mom and dad. I call my girlfriend. and they would help me out a lot. You gotta talk. If you stay quiet and keep it bottled in, and that's when people tend to go home. Because I know a lot of guys that went home because they're homesick, even though they lived a couple hours away. They just couldn't do it. So it's all,
Yeah.
like I said, a mental game. But talk, don't keep it bottled in because it's just gonna kill you in the end. Like I can remember it was my freshman year, and it was the first camp, 2 weeks of the before the season starts, and I cried and I wanted to go home, but the coaches just didn't walk by when I was talking to my mom and dad. I was crying. They came and talked to me, and they just talked it out, and I ended up staying, and it was the best decision I made.
Yeah,
You know.
I remember I back then I
hmm
was texting your mom and I said, "How's EJ doing? Is he doing good?" Because that's one thing with me. Once you go off to college and stuff, I don't stop helping you there. I
Yeah.
if you need something in life, I'm always gonna be there for you. Um, and I asked her, and she was like, "Well, he wants to come home," and I was like, "No, don't let him come home. Keep him there, and push him to stay there, And you did, and you've had a pretty decent, freshman sophomore year, and I'm
hmm
looking forward to see what you do, in the next couple years, and you know, hopefully you get some um accolades that can push you a little bit further up to the next
hmm
level.
Yeah.
Um, so what has it been like playing at Hastings College? Because a lot of people, they're like, oh, it's NAIA. It's not big time football. But, for me, I've seen NAIA schools beat D2 schools, and I've seen those
hmm
D2 schools beat, FCS D1 schools, and so on and so on. So how has it been playing at Hastings, uh, school there in Nebraska?
It's been a really fun experience, especially playing at the college level. Coming from because for me, like the adjustment for me, like adjusting to it was coming from a small high school where I was bigger than everybody else, and then going to the bigger athletes. And it took a little bit of an adjustment to that, but other than that, it's amazing. It tests just your skill level. And people will like to say, NAI is not competitive, but the GPAC where we play, we have a lot of teams. Like we got Morningside that we got to play. They're they're national champions a lot. We got Dort, they're just a hard-headed team. It's just, and then I've seen some battles. There's teams that shouldn't be beaten and they get beat. It's all a mental game, and then it depends on the coaching staff. NAIA football is a lot of hard hitters, a lot of hard players, and I enjoy every single second of it. Even at practice, you try to make it a battle, like it's a real game to get us in that mentally ready state. But
Yeah.
I love it. It's great. And everybody dreams, D1 this, D1 that. There's so much talent out there in every other division, D2, JUCO, NAIA, D3. I guarantee a small D2 school will beat a smaller D1 school. It doesn't matter. It's just who wants it more, and that's the biggest thing. Who wants it more every single game?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Um, Now we're going to get into a big topic that a lot of people are talking about these days,
yeah.
the transfer portal. What is your honest opinion as a college athlete on the transfer portal? I know it's hard. There's been some NAIA kids, for instance. I know a kid that was at Arizona Christian University. He played defensive back at Arizona Christian University, and then he transferred out to Fresno State, which is a D1.
hmm
Um, so how do you feel about the transfer portal personally from your own standpoint?
Me personally, I think it's a good thing. It's just because you can commit to a school and they'll offer you all of this and offer you all that, but some guys get there and it's nothing that they talked about, and then they don't feel accepted. They don't feel like they're gonna play, and the coach they can talk to the coach as much as they want, but if nothing changes in reality, then that's just a bigger chance to change schools. And if a guy goes from a small school to a D1 school, that just means that guy worked as hard as anybody else on his team to make it something better for himself. And I think the transfer portal is a really good idea, especially like just in that aspect, and you're not getting everything you were promised, and then things just aren't going well. Like teammates aren't treating you right, and nothing's changing, so you gotta go somewhere else. And then there's always like the bad parts too. Like let's say you're a senior at a high school, and you get an offer to this D1 school, and you commit like let's say quarterback, but then you got to transfer from a D2 school going to that same D1 school, and they're going to want him to play over you because he's had that experience.
Yeah.
already in the college level. So there's the goods and the bads, but I honestly think it's a good idea for the transfer portal to be in college football.
Yeah, and at first I was a little bit against the transfer portal, but the more I'm learning, the more I understand the transfer portal. So one thing that I learned recently is that a lot of these kids are being forced into the transfer portal by their coaches because the coaches are saying, "Hey, we can find somebody better than you in the transfer portal. So hey, I need you to go enter the transfer portal because we're gonna go get this guy over here." And you're not planning out as we thought you would when we recruited you in high school. So we thought you were gonna be this good and you was gonna come in and do this, and you're not. So now they're pushing those kids into the transfer portal, and they're basically just going into the transfer portal and finding a replacement for them. And so I call it, the college free agency that basically is what it is. And I was really surprised to actually see the Alabama starting center and backup center both enter the transfer portal yesterday and today.
Mhm.
So, um, that's been something that's changed college football for sure. And the next question we'll get into is, how do you feel about the NIL deals, and do you think NAIA athletes should get more deals? I know most people focus on D1, D2 athletes, but in a small area like Hastings College, it might be more beneficial for some of those businesses to focus on local athletes instead
Mhm.
of going out for those national athletes. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I feel especially like D1 schools, they obviously have the money and they have the people to do it, but when smaller schools like NAIA, like people think you can still get full rides. That's only for the bigger Division 1 schools and small D1 schools here. They pay you a decent amount of money, but you still got to pay out of pocket. So because they don't have enough to give out full ride scholarships to NAIA athletes, and like also like JUCO and D3, like they can't give athletic scholarships. They can only give you based on your academics. So I think
Yeah.
giving smaller schools NIL deals would help out a lot, especially those who get offered but not the most amount of money, and they need that little bit of help to get through the semesters, because it's not paying for your football, it's paying for you to go to school. And those NAIL deals, if they can come to smaller schools, that'd be a big help for a lot of athletes. So,
Yeah, and I know there's a couple people that have the last couple of days I've been doing some research, and there's a few kids that have signed NIL deals as college athletes. Um, but mostly they do it back home. So then, like right now, where you're on break, they would make a commercial for their local car company, and the car company would basically pay them for doing the commercial,
mhm,
things like that. And so it's more of the individual athlete kind of going out there and emailing businesses and getting those
yeah,
NIL deals for themselves. Um, and kind of one of the last questions we're going to ask is, what advice in general do you have for current high school athletes that want to get to the next level? Because there's a lot of people out there, oh, you got to do this or you got to do this, and a lot of the information is just thrown away and it's not true, and it's you got to be this or you got to do this. So there's always other people putting things out there that's not true. So what advice would you give from your standpoint on what current high school athletes need to do to get to the next level?
I would say put in the work. Like just those 3 words right there should be enough. But there's only so much. You've already proven yourself on the field. Like if you're already proven yourself on the field to make it to the next level, have you proven yourself in the classroom? In the classroom, as I say, that's the biggest part. You can be the mediocre player of the team, but can work, if you can work your ass off pretty much and prove yourself to coaches that you're there and in the school aspect of it, you're gonna get offered, even if because there can be a guy better than you, but he won't pass his classes. School's everything. I finished with a 3.2 GPA, and I was proud of that. I had A's and B's in high school, but I've seen a lot of athletes that I played with, especially, they were the ballers of the field, but they couldn't do nothing in the classroom because they didn't like school. So focus in school a lot, and when you're done with school and you're done with your homework, take yourself to the weight room, and that's where it's going to build up to for your strength, and then the field is just going to make you better at your position. And if you got a friend with you that wants to do the same thing, I think training with a friend pushes you even harder. So if you could find that one guy, that one friend that will work with you and stick with you, that's going to help you a lot more. But the biggest part for me was the school.
Okay. And so, with that being said, so for me, I always tell kids there's 5 things that you gotta have. You gotta be disciplined in the classroom, and you gotta have at least a 2.5 GPA or higher. That's gonna get you most money.
Yeah.
And like you found out when we was doing our little meetings with Hastings College and them down there at the R&R Athletics gym,
Hmm.
just a from a 2.5 to a 2.8 is a difference of about $6,000 in academic
Yeah.
money. So just kids got to stay on that school and be in the classroom and doing things. And then it's effort, will, determination. You got to have the effort, you got to have the will, and you got to have the determination to do this. If not, you're not going to make it in college football. And then the last thing is, coachability. You have to be coachable, but not only in the classroom, but off the field as well. Because if you're out doing things that you're not supposed to do, and your coach comes and says, "Hey, I need you to stop doing that. That's not what we do as
Yeah.
football players," and you continue to do that, it's going to end up causing you to be released from the program and sent back home. And so those are 5 things that I like to hit on when I talk to people about, signing up with my agency, R&R Athletics. Um, However, I am going to be sending you a package soon. I got some. I'm ordered you some Hastings gear with R&R logo on it, but it's in the Hastings colors. Hopefully
Okay.
they'll let you wear it. Hopefully they'll let you wear it during game days. It's some arm sleeves, some gloves,
Okay.
um, a t-shirt, and maybe you can wear it under your pads and stuff like that. I'll get that
Hmm.
out to you. Um, but hey, I just want to say thank you for coming on today and spending some time with me here and letting everybody hear your story. Is there anything that you would like to say in closing? Shout outs to anybody, say thank you to anybody, that you would like to give a shout out to.
Yeah. Well, shout out my family. That's the number one people in my life, my whole family, and shout out the whole Hastings Bronco football team. It's just I'm just so blessed to be where I'm at, and I'm blessed, and I want to shout you out too. Anybody looking to get recruited needs to talk to you, especially from the smaller areas in Arizona, because you can make it. You can make anything happen, and especially for me, I didn't think it would happen, but you made it happen for me. And thank you for having me on, and thank you for the stuff you're sending me. I'm excited to see it, and I'll be rocking it during games. So thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, no problem. And then, like I said, I'm just waiting for it to come in. As soon as I get it, I'll get that address from your mom, and I'll send it to you. Um, but anyway, man, appreciate you coming on. And if you want to get a workout, I know you're farther away from me now than what I used to be, but
Hmm.
anytime you want to get a workout, if you're in the area, let me know.
All right.
All right,
No,
EJ,
but
have a good day, man.
all right. You too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.